Okay, welcome everyone. So this was the first game played today. Let's see, it's Wednesday, July 9th, and this was the morning game for those of us on the West Coast. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, so I was busy doing other things and missed this. So I happened to see the score and surprised that Connecticut won because they've been losing like crazy. And I thought, oh, well, maybe Seattle had because this is the longest trip you're going to make for any team. It's the furthest away. So I thought maybe Seattle had jet lag or something like that, or, it's 8 o'clock in the morning for them. But no, Seattle played well. Connecticut just finally played well for 40 minutes. Well, actually, they didn't start out too good. There were defensive lapses, and Seattle went up to like 24-10. I thought, oh, here we go again. But you know what? Connecticut pulled it together. And by the end of the first quarter, I think they were definitely within 10. I'll have to look that up. But, kudos to Connecticut. They just kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and they kept their turnovers down. And, there's some players on their team that when I've been covering their games, that I've thought, these players need to do certain things. And one of those was J.C. Sheldon. She has a nice three-point shot, and she wasn't taking enough shots. Well, today, she had a very key three-pointer that put Connecticut was up by 1 or 2, and it put them up by 5 in the fourth quarter. And she had a couple of other threes and just knocked them right down. And she definitely needs to look to shoot more. And Bria Hartley, in past games, she was dribbling too much and trying to force stuff. Much better game for her. Much better. She hits a couple of threes and penetrated when necessary and didn't over dribble. Tina Charles had 29 points. She was very key for them. She's like one of the oldest players in the league, and she usually kind of has to take some time off during the game and doesn't perform. Well, this game she performed the whole game. It was a very nice game for Tina Charles. So, and like I said, Seattle played well. They had the lead. They were up like 24-10 in the first. Then Connecticut came back. Then they built another lead. And then they were up like 15. And usually in the past, this is where Connecticut kind of folds. And they didn't. But they had great game from Sanaya Rivers played really well. Sheldon played really well. Hartley played really well. Nelson Adota had quite a few nice moments. Anissa Morrow was in there fighting hard for rebounds, and she played well. But I think the biggest difference for Connecticut was Leah LeCon. This is her second game with them. And when they started to catch up, Leah LeCon made a couple of defensive plays that gave them breaks, and then she had a couple drives to the hoop, and she hit a three. I'm pretty sure it was a three. And Connecticut got the momentum, and they took the lead with, I think it was 6:20 left. They finally caught them with 6:20 left. And then they ended up just, in the past, they would give it up. Like the other team would come back and they'd lose, or they'd make a mistake, and they just didn't do that this game. And when I first saw Connecticut play really early in the season in May, I thought, this is actually going to be a better team than most people are thinking. And then, of course, that didn't happen. But because these are a lot of young players, a lot of first, second-year players on Connecticut's team. And, they're starting to look better. I think they're going to start winning some games here. I mean, I could be wrong. They could go right back to doing what they were doing. But, if they play solid and they don't turn the ball over and they just, feed Tina Charles as much as possible, and Nelson Adota plays, if they just play decently, and, and Mabry's not back yet. Apparently she was doing some drills and stuff, so she should be coming back not long after the All-Star break. So that's going to help them. And I just think Connecticut's going to start winning some games in the second half of the season. Because they look, they're young and they look good. they finally look good. They've looked like I thought they were gonna, early in the season. And then they just, I don't know. But like I said, Seattle played well. But Connecticut shot really well. And that was the difference. In a lot of their other games, they were shooting crappy. They shot almost 50% from the floor the whole game. 44% from 3. 8 for 18. So let's look at Seattle. Seattle shot 44%, but they only shot 24% from 3. Turnovers were even. Both teams had 10 turnovers. Points in the paint were within 2. Everything else was pretty even. So, like I said, Seattle had started out the game in front, and it looked like it was going to be a normal Connecticut game. So 27-18 at the end of the first. And like I said, they had gone out to 24-10. So later in the first, Seattle only scored 3 points, and Connecticut got 8. So they closed that gap a little bit. Then in the second, Connecticut outscored them 23-22. And then the third quarter was even, and then the fourth, this is where Connecticut just took over. 27-9, they outscored them. Just crazy. I mean, I've been expecting this from Connecticut, and they just haven't been able to do it. So Gabby Williams this was a great game for Gabby. She had 21 points. She was 40% from 3, 64% from the floor. Nneka didn't shoot very well. She had 12 points, but she had 12 rebounds and 3 assists. So she was 5 for 15 from the floor. That's under what she normally does. Ezzy shot well. She was 5 for 8, 62%. Erica Wheeler, she shot okay. Not great for her. She had 13 points, 3 assists. Oh, no, that was Ezzy. Erica Wheeler had 10 points and 7 assists. She was 3 for 8 from the floor. She was 2 for 5 from 3. But late in the game, Seattle just didn't get what they would normally get to close out the game. Connecticut ended up getting that. Skyler Diggins, scored 23 points. She was 1 for 5 from 3. She was 42% from the floor. Alicia Clark, 4 points, and then that was it. Malonga didn't score, and Zia Cook didn't. She played 7 minutes, but she didn't score. She got only thing on her line is 2 fouls. So let's see. Rebounding was 31-38. So Connecticut out-rebounded them. But Connecticut had 4 players in double figures. You had Charles with 29 points. J.C. Sheldon had 16. She was 4 for 6 from 3. And, I've been seeing that and just wanting her to shoot more. So good for her. She also had 4 assists. Bria Hartley had 15 points, and she had played better. She was 50% from the floor, 3 for 5 from 3, and 4 for 4 from the foul line. And then Layla Khan had 8 points. She played 19 minutes. She didn't play most of the first half, but the second half is where she really made her contributions. She had 4 rebounds, 3 assists. But she was like the game changer in the fourth there with her defense mostly. Anisha Moore had 6 points, but she has 7 rebounds. She's getting in there and getting rebounds. That's for sure. Haley Peters didn't score. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Nelson Adota had 8 points, and she had 6 rebounds. So she was in there. Periodically she made contributions. So, congratulations, Connecticut. They've been due for a good game. And so they get the win 93-83. And them scoring 93 points, they've had games where they've scored, I think they had one where they scored like 55. Something like that. It might not have been them, but they've had games in the high 50s, low 60s for total points scored. And they scored 93. So, congratulations to the Connecticut Sun. And Seattle will be fine. They'll bounce back because they still played well. So Connecticut is now